morning. I call this meeting of the Glendora Unified School District's Board of Education to order at 7 o'clock p.m. Please join with me in the flag salute. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the roll call show that all 5 board members are present. Report of action taken in closed session, there was none. I need a motion, please, to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Merkley and seconded by Dr. Fernando. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? No. Well, I'd like to welcome our guests inside and outside this evening. I'm hoping that, I'm going to pull this closer because I understand it's a little hard to hear all of us up here. I want to just acknowledge that a group of parents, folks got together and sent these flowers. I don't know who or where, what group they came from, but just want to say thank you to those people for that. And I do have an opening statement tonight to read. We just want to have a public discourse meeting here with a lot of comments and a lot of public input and offer you the opportunity to speak to the board. Tonight's Board of Education meeting will allow for another opportunity for our GUSD community to provide input to our Board of Education and our staff. To ensure that we can hear from as many people as possible and have a productive meeting, the board wants to proactively share our board meeting protocols in advance of the meeting to help those who would like to speak to do so and make it as seamless as possible for everyone. We will also have a simple and easy process for people who choose not to comply with the LA County Department of Public Health order, which states, in Los Angeles County, everyone 2 years of age and older must wear a mask in all indoor public settings, venues, gatherings, public and private businesses, and at outdoor mega events, regardless of their vaccination status. Those who choose not to wear a mask will be provided outdoor seating with a monitor on which to view the live stream of the board meeting. Those who are seated outdoors will be permitted to enter the room, go directly to the podium to speak, if they have filled out a speaker's card without their mask and then return to their seats outdoors. Those who are seated outdoors will hear their name called on the live stream. Below are the rules of public comment, and they're always posted in our board agenda. Number 1, public comments to non-agenda items may address only items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Time allotted for each presentation is limited to 3 minutes per comment. Total time allotted on non-agenda items is limited to 20 minutes, but for this meeting, we have dropped that 20-minute rule. But each individual will still be allowed 3. Public comments to the agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. Total, again, the same thing, 20 minutes, but we're dropping that 20-minute rule for this meeting only. Public comments may not relinquish time to another. Public comments should include the commenter's name and adhere to the applicable time limits. Complaints against employees or students will normally be heard in closed session, and the district's complaint procedure should be followed before discussion with the board. The board may remove disruptive individuals and order the room cleared if necessary. Any person who willfully disturbs the public school or public school meeting is guilty of a misdemeanor. We look forward to hearing from our community and truly appreciate the many of you who have complied with the health orders. Please note, if the meeting is disruptive and attendees refuse to comply with the aforementioned protocols and guidelines, we will have to remove those who do not comply and/or the location of the meeting per Government Code 54957.0 1.9, which states the following. In the event that any meeting is willfully interrupted by a group or groups of persons so as to render the orderly conduct of such meeting unfeasible, and order cannot be restored by the removal of individuals who are willfully interrupting the meeting, the members of the legislative body conducting the meeting may order the meeting room cleared and continue in session. Only matters appearing on the agenda may be considered in such a session. Representatives of the press or other news media, except those participating in the disturbance, shall be allowed to attend any session held pursuant to this section. Nothing in this section shall prohibit the legislative body from establishing a procedure for readmitting an individual or individuals not responsible for willfully disturbing the orderly conduct of the meeting. Again, we greatly appreciate the many of our GUSD community who have engaged in thoughtful and civil discourse, despite the sometimes polarizing and difficult issues the pandemic has created. And with that, we will move on to public comment.
These are from the, you want to announce these are from
Yes.
the 8, 9?
Okay, because our last meeting was cut short, I have saved the comment cards, and I'm going to call on those people first to give comments if they are present. And I'll give a moment because I realize people are outside, so I'm not sure who's inside and who's outside. The first person is Carly Shepard. No, Carly. And excuse me if I don't pronounce this correctly. It's
Carly.
Carly? Is it 8? No.
It's Carly Shepard.
Shepard.
Carly with a K, Shepard.
Carly Shepard. Carly Shepard. These are individuals from the last board meeting, just in case they're here.
Next one.
Aileen, and I'm going to spell the last name, Aguinid. Aguinid? Aileen,
Eileen,
it's
Eileen.
Aileen.
Aganid.
Aguinid.
She is not here.
Tim Cremens.
Ken Griffin.
No? I know Judy Nelson. I know Mrs. Nelson is not here. Wendy Jarvie.
Good evening, my name is Wendy Jarvie and I'm a Glendora resident. Tonight I want to address the CRT unifier. If I read correctly, once AB 101 passes through State Senate, GUSD would use the model curriculum passed by the California State Board of Education. Below that, under the heading, the national debate about CRT, it says, it is important to note that ethnic studies and critical race theory are not the same thing. I opened the link that you provided access to about CRT facts and found the principles therein to be indistinguishable from the state-approved model curriculum, Chapter 1, Intro and Interview and Overview. Several references cited are works of CRT scholars and professors. There is even a resource titled, Whose Culture Has Capital? A CRT Discussion of Community Cultural Wealth. The language throughout the model curriculum is divisive, labeling groups as oppressors and institutions as systematically racist. In the section with the heading Guiding Values and Principles of Ethnic Studies, we can see examples of CRT starting with number 4. critique empire building in history and its relationship to white supremacy, racism, and other forms of power and oppression, such as, but not limited to, patriarchy, cis-heteropatriarchy, exploitive economic systems, ableism, ages. It goes on with other isms and phobias. I'll move on. Number 5, challenge racist, bigoted, discriminatory, imperialist, colonial, and hegemonic beliefs and practices on multiple levels: ideological, institutional, impersonal, internalized, otherwise known as the 4 I's of oppression. Number 6, connect ourselves to past and contemporary social movements that struggle for social justice and an equitable democratic society, and conceptualize, imagine, and build new possibilities for post-racist, post-systemic racism society that promotes collective narratives. Please explain to me how this is not CRT. This has no place in K through 9 setting. Dr. De Leon, I believe that you expressed agreement with me in our recent meeting that ethnic studies should celebrate culture's achievements and contributions, and that you do not support CRT and social justice activism being taught in the classroom. If that is true, GUSD should reject the CSBA approved model curriculum and develop our own. Furthermore, if you cannot see the model curriculum for the Marxist, socialist, communist CRT garbage that it is, then you are either woefully ignorant or insidiously deceitful at your attempt to weave CRT into our schools under the guise of ethnic studies. Don't spit in my face and tell me it's rain.
Next speaker is Susan Lovell.
Not
Krista Chakmak.
Krista, check back. Krista?
Victoria Gonzalez.
She has some cards in here as well. And ask her if she wants to be called again under C2, under the
Okay,
item.
okay.
And then she has some.
Hi. You have 2 cards last time, and would you like me to call you again when C2 comes up?
No, C2 I did again because I wasn't sure if last time. It was
Okay,
and I
same
wasn't-
thing?
Yeah, same thing,
All
but
right.
I do have one for public, like,
Yes.
because this is the C2 one, so I wanted it this time for public.
Yeah, is this from the last time?
Yes, that's the last time, and then we have 2 from today.
Okay, do you want to just stay up here for both?
The one for today, C2, you can just cut because I'm going to do it right now.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect, thank you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Victoria Gonzalez, and I'm a resident and GHS parent. Thank you, Dr. De Leon, Mrs. Borg, and Mrs. Vacker for meeting with the few of us last week. We felt the meeting went well, and although we left hopeful about the communication and opportunities of understanding, I have to admit receiving the letter later that night was a little disappointing and upsetting. Again, this is just another example of us not being heard. We have stood up here meeting after meeting asking for mask choice, explaining to you what we want as parents for our children, but yet again, you heard us but weren't really listening. We're not against masks. We're for mask choice. Mask choice is not alternative choices to masks. Mask choice is the parent's right to choose what's best for their children in regards to masks. We've explained this over and over in private meetings and up here. I want you guys to please put yourselves in the parent's shoes. Mrs. Borg, what if one of your grandchildren developed a bacterial infection on their face because of the mask, so severe, and they were told that they had to wear a mask, which would further grow the infection, or wear a shield where people can see it and see all the ointment and stuff on it, causing your grandchild to feel insecure or possibly suffer ridicule or stay home from their friends? Okay, Mrs. Reuter, what if your teen developed severe depression due to the lockdown and tried to commit suicide more than once, but as they were excited to go back to school with the medical waiver, they were told they have to go back to seclusion or stay at home? Every minute of the day, worried about your child while you're at work and they're home alone, texting and calling them to check in at every chance you get, worrying if they're still alive. Dr. Fernando,
What if your child had a serious asthma issue and can't wear masks, and they pass out twice already from their inability to breathe correctly? And you had a medical waiver, but even so, we're told that the only way they can go back to school and accept the waiver is if your child sat alone in another room and Zoomed or stayed home away from everyone, just like they're back in lockdown. Mr. Allison, how would you feel if your little child had a hard time breathing wearing the mask and broke down crying every single time they try to put one on, yet you had to force them to wear it every day or else they have to stay away from their friends in school? I'd like to think that that would break your guys' heart and that you wouldn't make them suffer like that every day, but yet you continue to ignore other children's cries in this community. How would you all feel if your hands were tied that you can't help your children? Dr. De Leon and board members, these scenarios are not made up. These are real scenarios that parents in Glendora are dealing with for their children. That's how severe this is. No parent wants their child harmed. Every parent would do anything to protect their child, and every parent should have that right. Am I wrong to want what's best for my child's health and safety? According to the small handful of people who bought those flowers for you on social media, said that I'm a horrible parent who doesn't care about my kid living or dying because I want no mask. Am I not allowed to voice my concern and fight for my rights as a parent? Apparently not, because according to your very own principal at Cullen Elementary, Dr. Bonner, she told everyone at their PTA meeting that, quote, if only those anti-maskers would just keep their mouths shut. We're not asking you to break laws. We're asking you to stand up and fight for us. Support us. Even if you're rejected, can you for once communicate to those above you on our behalf? Okay. Thank you for listening.
Isabella Garcia.
You're on a delay, slight delay. I can't see.
It's a student.
What's it?
No, I'm just saying, it was last time.
She's pro-mask. There's no.
Okay. Anna Wannenwetsch, Wannenwetsch. Joyce Corrigan.
Tim Ferguson is speaking in my half tonight because I got very ill today.
I think we have his card in here.
I had the card, I spoke last week, but you...
We didn't get to it. Yeah, that's fine. So you want to, Tim, this is Tim?
He can come right.
Sure.
He can come up right now. We'll pull his card out of the stack.
So Tim Ferguson, Glendora High, class of 63. And my daughter graduated in 2008, I believe. This is what Joyce asked me to say to you, and let me just read it. During my attendance at your previous goal-setting board meeting, I heard our superintendent, Mrs. De Leon, comment that she would like more community involvement as a 2021-2022 goal. Then, at our previous school board meeting, the board walked out on us. You are painting a very conflicting story. Our group is made up of concerned parents, concerned citizens, and concerned grandparents. We only want the best for our community, for our children, and our country. At this time, it appears it is only a one-way communication without dialogue between the citizens and your board. We stand at the podium and present our concerns with zero feedback from you. You listen to the state or others and do as you are told. Although you walked out of the last meeting, I still presented thoughts and concerns about the critical race theory. CRT is now labeled ethnic studies, but it's just a kinder, gentler way of packaging the racist CRT idea that people are divided at birth into oppressors and oppressed. Both of these programs divide people into various subgroups instead of uniting them as Americans. They tear our country down instead of building it up. Marxism has never worked and never will for the good of the people. We see it happening right now. Divisiveness, silencing those who don't fit the Marxist ideology or narrative, dumbing down our students, and dividing and pitting one against another. We are reaching out to all of you. We are willing and able to meet with you anytime before and become more a part of the relationship between us and you, the board. We ask for your engagement, for you to engage us and not continue with this one-way dialogue. May God bless all of you, provide you with wisdom and guidance to distinguish good from evil and to make better decisions. May we all fight against divisiveness in this country and within our educational system. Let us all stand for what is right and be heroes. And this is my 2 cents on my card. And I'm Scottish, so mine's not going to be as nice. And there's a Scottish saying: I thought I had 3 minutes for her and 3 minutes for me. This will only be about a minute, but I do have to tell you the Scottish saying: if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And none of us here will ever be on the menu. It's time for us to prepare our families to stand against Marxism and the Marxists who are bringing this into our schools. Their goal is to destroy the family, and they use aspects of feminism, birth control, abortion, reproductive freedoms, working women, single parenting, feminism, homosexuality, no difference between a man and a woman, to destroy the family. Once the family is destroyed, then the government controls and educates our children. And that is Marxism, and it has failed every time in every country it's happened. And you can Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, Vietnam, China, just to name a few where it has failed, hard failed. No history in Marxism. There's no history. There's no books. There's no libraries. There's no education. Teachers are dumbed down and shackled. Schools are closed. And the wearing of glasses to see is illegal. In China, Mao had all the names of all the people who wore glasses taken down. 30 million Chinese were killed because they wore glasses. And this is easy to find online. This is what Marxism can do. We, on the other hand, stand for Christianity. Now, what is that? That's love and truth and God and helping and encouraging each other and standing together against evil. Challenge us all to do that.
I'm sorry, Lisa Long.
That was from last time.
All of you.
Lisa Long.
She's here.
Aaron Ralph.
Thank you for allowing this opportunity for me to be here today. My name is Aaron Ralph. I'm a resident of Glendora. I have a couple children who are in the schools as well. So thank you for having this forum, making it available, making it possible for us to be here tonight. I was at the last meeting. I was disappointed that we weren't able to actually address the board because certain members of the public will refuse to comply with the county's public health mandates. But I appreciate and understand that you were in a difficult situation. So I wanted to thank you for your service and for trying to help us come together as a community in this difficult and divisive time. I would ask that everyone kind of be reflective and thoughtful of the views of others and how people have different perspectives, and I appreciate that many people here understand that. And it can be challenging when you have children who are attending public meetings and people are making animal noises and things of that sort. Perhaps when there are other people that they care about are speaking. So I just would ask that people show grace and compassion for others who have different views in this challenging time. I'm not going to try to express my views on masks and whether they are useful or not. My personal opinion, although it won't sway anybody, is that that's what the greater weight of the evidence is showing right now. We're in a challenging time where we're not going to have the information that we want to have perfect decisions. We're never going to have that. And I realize you're dealing with difficulties because of that. And your hands are also tied because of the LA County health mandates. And you are not free to just do as you wish. So I appreciate your difficult situation and dealing with the community as we have here with people who are passionate on both sides. And I would also just ask you to be mindful of the fact that just because someone's voice may be louder and may express their opinion more frequently than others, that does not mean that their opinion necessarily or even is more likely to be representative of the community as a whole. So with those thoughts, I just wanted to thank you for your service and for this opportunity.
Rebecca Bishop.
Hello, board. My name is Rebecca Bishop. I'm a Glendora resident. I'm a small business owner, and I have elementary-age children. I'm sure you have it on record that I spoke a couple weeks ago, and the simple truth of the matter is I gave facts, tons of research from Johns Hopkins about bacteria on masks. I talked about personal choice. I talked about this mask mandate being an order, being a mandate, but it's not a law. And you, the board, have the power and the opportunity to be a lifeline to us parents who simply want choice. I would never shoo away someone who wanted to wear a mask, who needed to wear a mask. That's their personal right and that's their personal choice. And so I would encourage you and plead with you to uphold what we just stated, liberty and justice for all. We want liberty to be mask-free, if that's what we so desire. There should never be a one-size-fits-all approach to health care, and that includes mask wearing. I know you feel that you have to comply because of government mandates, but again, these are mandates, these are guidelines, these are orders, these are not laws. And a couple weeks ago, a number of us spoke out because you abandoned your post. You're not abiding by the Brown Act. You are leaving your post, and you are really not representing the community of Glendora. The reason so many of us have to get loud and we had to say, hey guys, please listen to us, is because you're getting up and walking out and because you're not respecting our personal values. You're not respecting them. And so what else do you expect us to do? These are our kids. Anyone here on this board who's a parent knows that it's all about our kids. I would die on every hill for my child, and I know you too would, Corey, and I know anyone else who's a parent would die for their children. So please, hear us. We're here. We're speaking. please hear us. And, you know, for those of you who are on the board who are on the fence or who have that gut feeling that something about this isn't right, listen to that gut feeling. If you aren't sure about CRT or you aren't sure about mask mandates, don't just comply because this is your job, because you know what? At the end of this, it's about our values, and it's about the things that we're willing to stand up for. And I really, 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 really hope that you take into consideration everything that has been shared so far. Thank you.
Donna Luce. Donna Luce. Monica Garcia. I'll spell it. First name is Shelby, last name Moaterirgan. I don't want to mangle it. I'm sorry?
Is it Moaterirgan?
It could be, yes. Moaterirgan. Shelby Moaterirgan. Thank you. Okay, that's the last one. Okay. This is the tonight's list that I'm starting on. John Harold.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is John Harold, and I live in Glendora. I've spent the last 37 years as a Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney. I recently retired. I spent 15 years as a Lieutenant Colonel in the Cal Guard. I was active in local government, both as a mayor and as a council person. I'm here tonight because I received a lot of phone calls from people on both ends of the spectrum. People that have never supported me called me and asked me to come here tonight because there are a lot of people in this town very upset at what's going on. Two issues. One, CRT. The second one, the mask. Both of them concern me because no one knows better than I do the awesome power of the government. That's why I was always in the government, because I don't trust the government. And so I wanted to make sure that I was there. Now I'm retired, and I cannot give up my oath that I took a long time ago, and that is to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. And I see it under attack daily by the government. That is what scares me. I've been forced to do something I never thought I would. I am standing before you as your local civil rights lawyer. I guarantee you there's a whole bunch of defense attorneys up and down the state of California that cannot believe that. But I'm doing it because I need to protect the Constitution. I'm asking as a public records request for all the legal evidence that was provided to you concerning why we would make children wear masks. Now, there should be studies, there should be treatises, there should be doctors, there should be a weight of evidence. Because what I'm warning you about is there's plenty of lawyers. I'm going to the California, well, it's not just California, it's the Trial Lawyers Association, which would never let me in the door, I guarantee you, when I carried a badge, because there are lawyers out there. And when you mandate something, you put yourselves on the line. There's something called violation of civil rights under color of authority. I've explained that to people many times in government. Before you make a child or make a parent give up their rights, you better be damn sure that one day you will be able to justify that in a court of law. And I'm telling you, from being in law, you better have stacks of reports. You better have stacks of experts behind you that are going to testify. Because I guarantee you there'll be lawyers like me that will cross-examine you, and you better be right. If you're right, then you got nothing to worry about. Otherwise, do not blame it on bureaucrats. Do not say the health department told me to give up my rights. You took an oath. I took that same oath numerous times, both in the Army and in civilian. Is my time up? All right. I guarantee you, you'll hear from me. In the words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.
Tara Patton.
My name is Tara Patton. I'm a Glendora resident. I am a mom of 3. I do not live in fear of COVID. I do not believe the masks work. Neither myself nor my children will ever get this vaccine. I don't support the RISE program nor critical race theory. I am not a racist. I'm not a white supremacist. I have 1 black child and 2 white children, which in the past was not something that I thought I had to point out. But per the nasty comments that I get on social media, I just thought I'd make this point. I don't believe that my son of color is a victim, and I don't believe my white children owe anyone an apology for who they are. God doesn't make mistakes. All of my children are taught that people are born with different color eyes, different color hair, different color skin tones. On the inside, we have the same blood, bones, and organs. They don't see each other as different physically, but man, are they learning quick about character. These are the conversations that we're having at home. I don't support any type of sex education program for my young children. These are the things that their father and I will talk to them about at the age that we deem appropriate. God gave me these children. I, as their mother, know what's best for them. I do not consent nor trust the school board or the government to make choices for me or my family. Unfortunately, we're in a situation now that we have a school board that doesn't represent me nor this community. I don't trust that you are fighting for me, my children, or the community that you are serving. I pray that at least one of you will have your eyes open to the truth of this. I support others that want to wear masks or get the vaccine. I'm not against others fighting for their rights. I just don't want to lose mine in the process. Thank you.
Jamie Lambertson.
Let me start my time now so I don't waste it because I lost my spot. Back in June, I asked the school board 3 questions that were unanswered. This is my second attempt. 1, what were you going to do as a school board to be a voice to all Glendora parents to make masks optional? 2, if you don't stand up for something like mask choice, will you not stand up for COVID shot mandates when the LA County Health Department promotes or mandates them? 3, if you do make this a choice, what are you going to do for children who choose not to get this experimental shot to be not discriminated against? I received a personal response in email on June 15th from Virginia Kelson. Though it was kind and polite, it disappointingly did not answer one of my questions. Why? What's the point of coming here and expressing my concerns if you aren't going to be answering them, or I'm not going to be taken seriously? I've listened to you at every board meeting since May, and one thing has become apparent. If there is a mandate created, which is a recommendation, you're going to follow it, no matter the real science or what the majority of Glendora parents want, not just a couple. This has been confirmed with the current indoor mask recommendation. This makes me extremely concerned when it comes to COVID shots. Are you going to force my child who has antibodies already to take this experimental shot just because the LA County Health Department thinks it makes kids safer when they aren't really affected by this? In your July 27th meeting, you mentioned that parents are pulling their kids from these schools because you don't have the right programs. Do you really think dual immersion, STEM and STEAM programs programs are going to bring more kids? How far off are you? Parents do not feel that this district currently represents the values of Glendora parents and families. When are you going to realize that you were elected to be our voice and represent us? We want choice because we are the parents. With 72 employees leaving this district since July 2020, at some point you are going to have to look at what you're doing and not keep playing victim and blaming us parents. Like I tell my kids, take responsibility and ownership over what you're not doing and represent us. Stop saying one thing and doing another. We, the parents, want to feel represented and want to have trust in this board again. If nothing changes, our kids are the ones who sadly will suffer. They should not have to be in fear or live in fear, and they should be able to have a normal school experience. Thank you.
Kim Martinez.
Good evening, Board. My name is Kim Martinez. I am a proud member of this community for 31 years. I'm sure each of you are also. My husband and I chose to live in Glendora because of the schools. We could have bought a much larger home in another community, but we knew we wanted our children to have exceptional schools. My children have never regretted that, and we haven't either. Our children attended elementary, middle, and high school here in Glendora. They've graduated from universities, and each of them are productive citizens in their communities. If you ask them, they would say much of their success is a result of the foundation they received in the Glendora Unified School District education. I also now have 2 grandchildren who attend Glendora Unified Schools, and they're following in the footsteps of their family, and it brings me great joy. But when my children attended schools, the only critical they were taught were critical thinking skills, not critical race theory. The teachers gave the students facts, not their opinion or political views, or whatever today's woke culture would be pushing. Then, after given the facts, the students were encouraged to use their own thoughts and ideas to spark a discussion, ask questions, and come to a conclusion on their own. Again, this was all based on facts. I plead with you this evening, I implore you this evening to not allow this heinous, destructive, and separatist curriculum into our schools. The name you call it doesn't matter. You can call it CRT, you can call it ethnic studies, or RISE, etc. It will cause division amongst neighbors, it will cause division amongst parents, teachers, and unfortunately, worst of all, our students. Glendora schools do not need to be transformed through moral, ethical curriculum. That's the responsibility of me as a parent and as a grandparent. I urge you to let the students of Glendora use their critical thinking skills. You will be amazed how they will blossom and thrive. I've seen it, and I hope to see it with my grandchildren.
Excuse me, Jamie Lynn Juarez.
Hi, I'm Jamie Lynn, and I'm actually going to speak to the parents. I'm not going to speak to you guys. The parents have to know, because this is a good thing that's come out of COVID. The silver lining is that you guys are being exposed. You guys are all going to continue to vote in favor of these pharmaceutical companies, these fraudulent companies that fund every decision that is made for our children and our students. We all know this to be true. I've been a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been a school counselor for over 20 years. I've made a career out of suing not only this district, but districts all throughout California. Thank you to the lawyer and the attorney who came on our behalf. You guys have been abusing and discriminating against children for a long time. It's not recent. Millions of students across the country, 1 million alone in California, under violations of Section 504 in the American Disability Act. If you guys really cared about public health, you'd be looking at the 54% of children that are sick. Our children are chronically sick, not with coronavirus. I believe the new study that just came out said less than 300 children in school died of this pandemic, compared to the 54% of children suffering from autism, ADHD, speech and language delay, learning disabilities. Do you guys realize how we're bankrupting our country beyond all of the things that have been going on? It's because of school districts like you guys. You guys have been lying. You guys have been abusing children. You've been discriminating against them and families like mine. So for the parents, because the parents are the ones that are here trying to get you guys to listen. I'm not naive. I've spent my entire career suing you guys. You guys probably will continue to vote in favor of all of these government bureaucracies. I don't know if you guys actually get paid from them, besides the tax dollars, all of the financial balancing that goes on. So it's going to be up to the parents. We all know what happens when parents get upset. They get pushed too far, and that's what you guys are seeing go on. Doctors don't make choices for us. Public health officials, they don't make choices for us, and you guys are letting them. Our children aren't suffering from what's going on, and masking them is not the solution. Forcing vaccines is not the solution. Parent choice, freedom is the solution. This is an absolute disgrace. My father fought in Vietnam. My mother's a pilot. My brother's a Marine. You guys are disgracing our country. You are disgracing the Constitution of America. Freedom of choice involves vaccines, putting any type of injection into our children's bodies, our bodies, masking them. What's going to happen to all of our children with special needs? What's going to happen to the typical children? They can't see smiles anymore. And now we've got the critical race theory with all of this nonsense trying to tell our children what to think. Thanks for having me.
Jonathan Lane.
Going to compliment you on the coffee tonight. Appreciate that. So, had to bring it in here. Good evening. It's good to see you all again. You all know my name is Jonathan Lane, and I'm a resident of Glendora with 3 kids in this district. Tonight, I'm speaking because I'm extremely concerned about the safety of our kids in the classroom. Parents, listen up. Right now, the district is not protecting your kids. Here's why. They are not requiring weekly COVID testing from all teachers, but only testing an unknown percentage of unvaccinated teachers. This creates a huge risk to your kids if one of your students contracts COVID from a teacher who's asymptomatic, but they didn't test everybody. I'll prove this with some facts. Last week, Texas Governor Abbott tested positive for C-19 and was asymptomatic. A breakthrough case, they call it. We also know that in LA right now, 30% of all COVID-positive cases are breakthrough cases. 30%. This follows on the heels of the CDC director's statement that vaccinated people can transmit the virus. That's why I'm here tonight. I'm here to strongly recommend, remember that word, going above and beyond state and county guidelines that require testing to only unvaccinated teachers, but now I'm asking you that require weekly testing to both unvaccinated and fully or partially vaccinated teachers. I do realize this may need a revision of the MOU between Glendora Teachers Association and the district, but I fully believe it is in your best interest to not only protect all students, all while reducing your liability. Again, if the district doesn't require that all teachers be tested weekly, you could be held liable if a case was derived from a fully or partially vaccinated teacher who was not tested. And for the teachers listening to me tonight, please do not feel that I am coming after you. I'm not. It's about equity. We all know how much this district likes to use that word now. Unvaccinated teachers are being discriminated against by requiring you to get tested weekly. This is not only discrimination, this is a huge privacy issue to which you have no privacy if you're the only ones required to get tested weekly, but vaccinated teachers aren't. I want equity for all the teachers, not just some. The districts and your union needs to protect the privacy of all of our teachers and not discriminate against your fellow colleagues. I understand that this is not required, nor is it even recommended by the county or the state. But I also remember having a back and forth email conversation with Jeffrey Weinstein back in April when you went above and beyond before and began testing students in high contact sports weekly, even though it was only strongly recommended by the county. Remember that word? There it is. It was not required, only recommended. So explain to me, why do you have no problem shoving a swab up our kids' noses weekly when it was only strongly recommended by the county, not required? Please don't sit here and tell us that you may have legal issues with testing all teachers. It's a simple yes or no. Test all the teachers. You have one full day until school starts. What are you going to do about it? Are you and the GTA going to ignore it or expose your kids? Or follow my advice? You need to test all the teachers. At the end of the day, I know there's a bit of divide in this district. I think every parent would fully agree with me on this issue. Protect our kids. And test all
Mr.
the
Lane,
teachers.
thank you. Aaron Ralph, you had 2 cards. Are you okay with? All right. Ryan Sennett.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Do I begin now? Perfect. Thank you. My name is Ryan Seniff. I'm not a parent. I'm not a homeowner. I'm not even a husband yet. But I am a proud Glendoran, and more importantly, a proud American. I believe that this critical race theory is a piece of socialist brainwash that will only widen serious racial divisions that is tearing our republic at the seams. I need to opt out now. Is America perfect? No. I still believe America is the greatest country on earth, for the greatest people on earth, because of our ability to think on our feet, roll up our sleeves, and do whatever is necessary to right wrongs, preserve freedom and quality of life. CRT, on the other hand, undoes all of that. It indoctrinates our kids with this one-sided view about the history of slavery in America and throughout the world, which ignores important facts like, I don't know, the fact that in the 1830s, British Parliament, which was majority white at that time, voted to ban slavery throughout the British Empire, and also ignores sacrifices of those who died at Gettysburg for the North, like my great-great-great-grandfather, who died for national unity, who died for freedom. CRT ignores all that. It completely dwells on the past in a one-sided view, and potentially place everyone in all these different caste systems, which isn't what America is about. We need to opt out of CRT now. Thank you very much.
Ron Oberlander. Ron Oberlander, just so they can hear it.
How you doing? First of all, my name's Ron Oberlander. Had 3 kids go through the school district here. Have 1 currently and 1 that we've pulled out. Been a resident for 19 years. First thing I want to say is I want to thank the Glendora PD for being here. These are gentlemen. They're going to come to my house and your house when we need them. We support you. So tonight kind of threw me for a loop, but I'm prepared. And I noticed in your agenda, true to form, you doubled down. So last meeting, we had an issue, but the issue was yours. You created the issue. We had someone here without a mask, and somebody challenged them, and someone asked them for their card, right? Their exemption card, right? So are we validating HIPAA? Is that what we're doing here? We're exposing people's privacy? Is that really what we're doing? And then we're going to double down here. It was the board that created the issue and challenged the mother of one of our children. It was embarrassing. Second thing that blows me away, you come here and there's a police officer, right? There's a first point of intimidation. Second, there's a guy at the gate. Third, you want someone to sign in to speak, right? Have you looked at your bylaws? Excuse me. Have you looked at the Brown Act? We don't have to sign in to come to this meeting, right? You've made that. Why? Because you love control, right? And it's very clear to me that you've either spoken to your attorneys or some consulting firm to do what you've done tonight, because it's 180 degrees from the way you've conducted yourself for the last 5-6 months. You are an embarrassment to this community.
Joanna Shepard.
Good evening. My name is Joanna Shepard. One can only be frustrated and angry for so long. My emotions have given way to great sadness. 645,000 Americans dead, families shattered, us fighting among ourselves about vaccination and masks, trying to control something, anything. Our citizenry is more than frightened. As a people, we are terrified, and with good reason. This virus is indiscriminate, attacking everyone it can get to. This virus is adaptable, morphing into variants as we try to stop it, making a mockery of humankind as we struggle to maintain our societies and ways of life. Is now really the time to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic? I think not. We must turn to our most learned and discerning epidemiologists, brace their recommendations, and stave off this scourge. From the time our children are able, we teach them to cover their mouths when they cough and sneeze, and masks are the first line of defense against airborne illness for unvaccinated children. We have students in our district who are vulnerable to serious complications if infected due to juvenile diabetes, asthma, and autoimmune disease. Every person on campus, adult or child, must be assured that their health and their safety are of utmost importance. Wearing a mask is not an affront to our personal freedoms. Rather, it is an act of compassion and generosity to others. By choosing to live in community, in civil society, we have the obligation to, at the very least, consider our own health and well-being in the context to others. We all agree that children need to have in-person instruction, and I urge the school board and the administration abide by the recommendations and protocols set forth by the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the County of Los Angeles Department of Public Health reopening protocols for K-12 schools, Appendix T1 and Appendix T2. I thank you for your time.
Kristen Morales. Kristen Morales.
I didn't come prepared, clearly didn't dress for the occasion, but I felt compelled to come today because I have a child on the spectrum, and this will be our first year at a public school system, and I'm very fortunate that he has the ability to be on a IEP, or the privilege to be on an IEP, or whatever you want to call it. But my son has sensory needs. Putting clothes on is torture in the morning sometimes. Shoes, socks. It feels like, I can't even explain it because he's unable to tell me, but I would imagine his body feels like it's pins and needles, or it's burning or it's just so uncomfortable. So you can imagine a mask mandate for a child on the spectrum with sensory needs is torture. Also, what I would call child abuse. And it is so hard for me to make the decision to let him go to school in one day, to have to wear this mask when it's hard for him just to function every day. So I'm here fighting for my son. I've been fighting for my son since the day he's born. He's 6 years old now. And I want to be able to give him the ability to have that social component and be able to get the services that are offered to him through the district. But I'm at a crossroad. Do I send him? Is that me doing my child an injustice and torturing him by having to wear a mask? Not just that, but he is getting speech services. How is he going to learn how to speak or communicate, pragmatics, if he has to wear this mask? And that's aside from all of the science of just CO2 and not being able to breathe. So I'm not here to cause any problems. I'm just here to fight for my child. I'm not a homeschool teacher, but I might have to become one if that's not going to be an option for him. So thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Kayum.
Hello, board. Thank you so much for your time tonight. My name is Daniel Kim. I'm a resident and soon-to-be parent of 3 kids coming through the district, hopefully. Sorry. Classes are worse with the mask. I'm coming tonight to implore you all to really think about your participation in this board. As you can tell from tonight, you're fighting multiple battles on multiple fronts. As somebody who has gone through this community, has gone through this school district, who cares about the school district, I didn't really have any desire to be part of these meetings. I didn't have any desire to look through the minutes, to watch what happens, to stay up till 1 in the morning watching YouTube videos about how this went. But I have become very enamored with what this board has been doing because you're fighting so many battles. You have mask issues, you have critical race issues, you have teachers that are angry. I mean, when I have teachers talking to me at every level, elementary, middle, high school, about how upset they are with things that this board is doing, I get concerned very quickly. I think that somebody brought it up at the last meeting after you all left, which was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for this community to watch everyone but Dr. Fernando, because you weren't here, get up and leave. It doesn't leave you a lot of options. This board should be coming forward with strength, with commitment and care to this community. And I think that's what you all took this job for. But to get up and walk off when you have a group of constituents here is really, really upsetting. And when we look at the way that this is all going, I don't know what your end game is. And I want to implore you to realize, and somebody brought up at the last meeting after you all left, we heard you guys talk about going to the community about bond issues. It's embarrassing that this community doesn't have a track and field that we can utilize. I heard you all say that. I think we can all agree that that's important for our students. But to say that we need to go to a bond and get the community to rally behind us, and then at the same time walk out on the community, to the point where we've had 2 meetings now of parents who are in the street with signs. It's a lot. It's a big commitment to sit down with your kids and make a poster that big and show up and publicly share your face on a public street of how upset you are. So I hope that you realize that you're not operating from a neutral standpoint. And I don't know if you guys realize that or not. It's like, I think the workshop meeting at 9 a.m., while that may be something that happens all the time, which I was present for, the community was like, what are they doing at 9 a.m.? Why are they meeting so early? Why are they trying to get something past us? Even something as natural and regular as that came across with a lot of distrust for each of you. So I hope you realize that you're not working from a neutral standpoint and moving forward. You guys you're at minus points trying to earn the respect of this community again. And that's unfortunate. So you got a long way ahead of you, and I hope, thank you, and I hope that you guys can do that, because I don't know what the end game is here. So thank you for hearing me tonight. Thank you.
That was the last speaker card for tonight. We're moving on with the agenda to comments from members of the Board of Education. Mrs. Merkley.
Parents, I thank you for your comments. I know that you are fighting for your kids in the way that you know how, and we appreciate that. We listen to you. I want to share that we went to convocation this morning. That is where students line up and cheer as teachers walk through. It is always an exciting day to see half faces of the kids and to know that they are excited to be back on campus. I'm excited for back to school. I look forward to being able to go and see the children sitting in their seats. We are fighting for that. We are fighting to keep your children safe so that they can attend in person.
Mrs. Merkley? I mean, Mrs. Reuter, sorry. Look right at you. Mrs. Reuter.
Thank you. I'm going to try and get closer to my microphone because a good friend told me it was sometimes hard to hear on the live stream. So I also attended the convocation this morning and was thrilled to be able to do so in person after a Zoom convocation last year. So it felt like a really big step in the right direction. I want to thank all of our teachers, all of our employees, administrators, everybody for all the hard work that they've put in this summer. Getting ready for this big day on Wednesday. I want to thank parents for being flexible and doing everything they can to support their children in their education and look forward to a good year. I do want to say that I too am disappointed that we're having to start this school year with masks. I really had hoped as a parent of high school kids that we would not have to do this. So I really do empathize with our community members that came in and shared their frustrations about having to wear masks or asking for mask choice. I understand where you're coming from. What I did hear a lot tonight, I sort of kept track of the different comments that community members came in and talked about, and the topic that received the most comments tonight were in regards to critical race theory and curriculum, sort of in general as a topic, if you will. So I'd like to request as a board member that we hold a study session regarding critical race theory and curriculum. And what a study session means, just for everybody's information, a study session is sort of a less formal setting where we have the ability to engage in conversation. We're very limited as board members by the Brown Act to be able to answer your public comment at that time. But a study session is a less formal, interactive, if you will, type meeting. So I'd like to request as a board member, and I hope that I can get sort of a second, if you will, that we host a study session regarding critical race theory and curriculum. I guess that's it, really. I'm looking forward to my kids starting school on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to visiting sites this week and next so that I can see kids back in school and get into classrooms and see teachers again. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody's faces. Thank you all, everybody who came tonight for public comment. The last meeting, it was unfortunate. I was sad that it went the way that it did, and I really appreciate everybody's cooperation and decorum this evening so that everybody can be heard and the business of the district can get done. Thank you very much.
Just FYI, for your information, I just asked Dr. De Leon, do we need to have a motion for your study session? And she said no. Any board member can request it. A study session. So we can follow through with that.
Okay, so I guess what I'd like is, by the next meeting we can have a date, or we can get that figured out as far as the study session is concerned. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you mentioned a second.
No.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Not for a study
Thank you very
session.
much.
No. Dr. Fernando.
No comments.
Mr. Ellenson.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone who attended tonight to give their comments. The board appreciates the opportunity to be able to hear from everyone and all perspectives. I made notes on the topics that we heard about most, and obviously it was regarding mask choice and CRT. With respect to CRT, I agree with Mrs. Reuter's suggestion that a study session would be helpful and beneficial to discuss the issues, so I add my support to that suggestion. With respect to mask choice, I appreciated that the community that spoke tonight seems to understand that there is a mandate from the LA County Department of Public Health. We spent a lot of time in closed session discussing risk and liability, so I'd like to request if the board can be briefed on what are the consequences if a school district defies State of California Department of Public Health, LA County Department of Public Health orders, and what are the risk and liability issues to the district if a local district is to choose not to follow those orders. I think that would be valuable information for the board to know and consider. And another item that I heard about that I'm interested in learning more about, we were informed recently that guidelines from the state with respect to COVID testing for our athletes have changed and are going to require certain sports to be tested more often, and that comes at quite a cost for the district. A parent tonight spoke and asked about the possibility of testing teachers on a weekly basis. We have 350 teachers, I think approximately 350 classified employees. I think the board would be interested to hear, maybe from our business services office, a briefing on the cost to the district if that's something we chose to do. Those are my suggestions after hearing from the public tonight. Outside of public comment, I want to wish everyone a very good first day of school. Yes, it is disappointing, Mrs. Reuter, that we are starting with a mask mandate because of the health restrictions, but I think you join me in celebrating that we are starting in person.
Yes, sir.
100%, and that's something that is a victory, and we're very happy that that has not been denied us, and we wish all of the students and staff a very successful first day of school. Thank you.
Trustee Ellenson, may I ask you for clarification? Would a staff report on risk liability and one on cost of testing at the next meeting be sufficient?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my turn. I too was at convocation this morning, and it was absolutely a joy to see faces out there, even though they were masked. We had an excellent speaker, and I think it kind of set the tone for the year to start off on a positive note. Earlier last week, I was involved with Mr. Osborne at Williams Elementary School, where we handed out morning and evening handouts of over 200 plus backpacks filled with school supplies to some of our neediest families in the district. There were a total of 500 backpacks, and some of the families couldn't be there to pick them up for whatever purpose. So they were all sent out to the sites so that those students can receive those backpacks filled with school supplies. And I shared earlier that I actually took my 2 grandkids shopping for school supplies just to Walmart, and I know what I spent. So getting these families the supplies they needed in the backpacks, which they got way more stuff than I got from my grandkids, I'll be honest with you, is really a privilege to hand it out. And people were so very grateful. Elementary, middle, high school kids. So I'm very grateful to Mr. Osborne and all of his efforts to get things donated. And thank you to the Kiwanis for their donations as well, and helping to pack those backpacks, because that's a job in itself, and to get them separated.
And GPD.
And yes, and Glendora Police Department, the auxiliary board, came out and also helped hand things out. So it was a community effort to some families that really needed the help. And somebody actually brought us some tacos at the end of the evening, because they were so grateful they had gone home and made some tacos. So I thought that was very sweet. And that's all I have. Consent items. The Board of Education may consider agenda consent items as a whole or as individual divisions. Any item may be removed by a member of the board for discussion. Is there anyone wanting to remove an item? No? Seeing none, I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Merkley, seconded by Dr. Fernando. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Which brings us to adjournment. Again, I want to thank all the members of the public here tonight. Thank you for coming out. We will adjourn the meeting at 8. I'm sorry, need a motion. Sorry about that.
So moved.
Second.
Again, thank you, Mrs. Merkley and Dr. Fernando, for making the motion and seconding it. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 8:15 p.m.